Hello, I'm Piggy. I'm not like other pigs. Yes, I'm a floating animated pig head, but most importantly, I can speak a human language, something that most pigs cannot do. I want to tell you my story of how I grew up into this beautiful pig that I am today. Or maybe that I was. Maybe I once was just a regular pig, and now I'm just a digital reincarnation of its spirit. Anyways, I wish I could tell you about sunny, wide green meadows, big, comfy stalls, fresh air. I really wish I could tell you a happy story, but this is unfortunately not my reality, and I don't want to lie to you. I have to warn you. My story will be horrifying, gruesome, and too graphic for some people. Ready? Because I'm not. This will be also hard for me. When I was born, my mother was caged in a so-called farrowing crate. She couldn't move at all. She wasn't even able to stand up. She crushed multiple of my brothers and sisters seconds after she gave birth to them. But there was nothing she could do but lie on the corpses of her babies. And I could do nothing but watch and listen to their screams. My mother wanted to build us a nest out of soft straw, but instead, we were born on cold, hard metal floor, on our siblings' blood and my mother's feces. My first breath of air was the smell of my mother's shit. It was really hard to breathe. The stinging smell of ammonia burned my eyes. Flies flew all over my body. I think fear was the first emotion I ever felt. I'm a very sensitive pig, you know. Most of us are. The metal floor had little holes all over it, and my little sister got her feet stuck in there. The floor was so slippery that I couldn't even walk up to her. I couldn't help her to get out again. A human came and put her in a bucket full of other dead piglets. They were put in the trash. My mother didn't have enough teeth for the rest of us that were still alive, so we had to fight against each other in order to survive. I'm sorry that I hurt my mother and my siblings, but I was really hungry. We were truly born in hell, even though we didn't know it. My mother was born to produce more and more of us. She never did anything other than to give birth to even more little piglets. More and more and more. The first weeks of living as a pig were probably the worst for me. One day, they led all of us piglets into a room. We didn't know what was going on. Then suddenly, my head was pushed into a metal machinery. I panicked. I couldn't see a thing. It was pitch black. Then my lungs burned. It felt like I was suffocating. I don't remember a thing after that other than waking up again next to my mother and siblings. Some of them were still sleeping. I felt drowsy, and there was this immense pain in my pelvic and my buttocks. Then I blacked out again. My brothers and sisters and I were happiest when my mother urinated on us. As pigs, we love water and we love to wallow. It's in our nature. And being caged is also just incredibly boring. We would pretend that shit is mud and play with it. In these cages, a lot of things are taken as natural when they really shouldn't be. We're supposed to wallow in a puddle in fresh mud, not in our mother's feces. My mother was 3 years old when she gave birth to me. After a few days, they took her out of her cage. She was really weak from continuously giving birth to so many piglets her whole life. But she looked so happy to finally be able to move again. We never saw her again after that. I loved my mother, and I know she loved me too. I will tell you things now that you probably already heard of somehow, but maybe pretend to not know, because it's easier and more comfortable. This is a pig. This is also a pig, or a severed part of a pig to be more specific. This is a pig. This is also a pig. This is a pig. This is also a pig. That's a picture of a schnitzel. Germans seem to like it a lot. Can you guess how many of us were slaughtered for a schnitzel today in Germany? I'll give you some time to guess. About 142,000 pigs were slaughtered today in Germany, 55 million a year. Germany is the third biggest pork producer after the USA and China. About 1.5 billion pigs worldwide each year. Really big numbers, am I right? It's really hard to grasp. You really don't seem to like us that much, except when we're served on a plate, of course. But I don't think you hate us. You feel indifferent towards us, which is worse. Sometimes I wish I was born as a dog, the human's best friend, or any other kind of a so-called pet. Although I would be less smart than I am right now, as pigs are actually smarter than dogs, even smarter than 3-year-old humans. But you humans love your pets, right? You let them live with you, take them out for a walk, go to the vet if they're sick. You worry about them, you care for them, you even cuddle with them. You shower them with love. Am I not worthy of your love? I can also give pretty good cuddles. I also deserve some love. But to you, I'm not a pet. I'm livestock, a product to be consumed. But we're individuals like you. We're living things and have a right to live. People and animals alike grow up in this cruel system that is designed to exploit and degrade us animals. And because we have normalized it and aren't aware of other alternatives, we don't view it as a problem. But it's a big one, and our world is suffering from it. Livestock farming pollutes our environment. The amount of land mass it takes to raise cattle is enormous. If you were to grow crops instead, you could feed 4 times as many people in half the time for a third of the price. The grain behind 1 kilo of beef could be used to bake 10 loaves of bread. Instead of 1 liter of cow's milk, you could also produce 3 liters of oat milk. Even if grain or soy were processed and refined further, it would still be much more environmentally friendly. For comparison, approximately 15,000 liters of water are used to produce 1 kilo of beef. The same amount of water could be used to grow 150 kilos of potatoes, because 1 kilo requires 100 liters of water. Nevertheless, almost 1 billion people worldwide are starving. Thousands are starving to death, even though there could be enough food. Animal feed, which is grown to lower standards than food, has an even greater impact on the environment. Unwanted plants and animals are combated with chemicals that are often sprayed from airplanes. It is not only the flora and fauna in the cultivation areas that suffer from the effects, but also the local population. Agricultural companies cut down primeval forests to gain land for cultivation, often illegally and supported by criminal armed organizations. There are repeated reports of human rights violations, groundwater poisoning, and cancer in the local population due to the high use of pesticides. Honestly, I feel helpless. There's not much I can do for my brothers, sisters, parents, children. But you can do something. We don't have a choice. But you do. You have a choice. I know that all of you have different backgrounds and live in different kinds of situations right now. For some of you, it might be easier to not choose to eat us, and for some, it might be really difficult to make that choice. But it never has been that easy to choose to live plant-based, animal cruelty-free. I mean, look at how many different kind of non-meat alternatives there are, and no animal had to die and suffer for it. None. And they apparently even taste just as good. You can go home today and choose what you want for dinner. And I hope you think about our little conversation when you do. Maybe try out some plant-based schnitzel this time. It's totally fine to make little steps and reduce your consumption of animal products little by little. My friends and family cannot go home. We are stuck behind bars, born to be killed. For taste pleasure that lasts a few minutes while our suffering lasts years. If we're lucky and not get crushed by our own mother or die from an infection. This system only works because people keep supporting it. And why do we support it? Because we don't know better. It has always been done this way. It's how we grow up. But now you know better. You humans have the power to change the system. As pigs, we don't have the power. We don't have a voice. We don't have a choice. But you do. You can decide whether you want to be part of the system or not today. You can create a better, more loving future. Choose love over taste. Life over taste.